Looking at this lone swordsman standing against an entire army, you'd naturally assume he's the classic hero of our story. In the Cardinal world, Yuuki Kagurazaka possesses the exact backstory, the drive, and the raw talent of an isekai protagonist. Yet he leverages all those heroic traits to operate as the series' overarching mastermind. Before Rimuru arrived, the Cardinal world existed in a state of rigid stasis, where the balance of power rarely shifted. For a hyper-intelligent tactician like Yuuki, an unchanging environment like this provided the perfect playground to slowly map out and control the system from within. His need for control stems entirely from a tragedy back on Earth. Born a genius with hyper-observational skills, Yuuki had a bright future ahead of him until both of his parents were killed by a truck driver who had been dangerously overworked by a massive corporation. When the case went to court, the legal system protected the company instead of the victims. Watching the corporation walk away without admitting a single fault destroyed Yuuki's fate in society. He decided the only way to ensure justice was to take over the world and rebuild the system in his own image. His quest for global domination was born from a desperate need for a system that actually worked. He saw absolute, top-down justice as the only way to prevent the negligence that killed his parents from ever repeating. To achieve this massive restructuring, Yuuki built two entirely different lives. In the Western nations, he established a spotless public persona. As the Grand Master of the Free Guild, he played the role of the friendly, reliable mentor, offering shelter and guidance to fellow Japanese Otherworlders. This diagram reveals the true dual infrastructure he maintained. While operating the Free Guild in the light, he ran a secret life in the Eastern Empire. There, he reigned as the ruthless boss of Cerberus, a massive crime syndicate controlling illicit global trade. He spent years meticulously crafting this massive net of influence. Then, Rimuru arrived. The slime entered the equation as an entirely unknowable variable that immediately disrupted Yuuki's carefully balanced spreadsheet of global control. Recognizing the threat, Yuuki used their shared Japanese heritage as a psychological shield. By bonding over video games, manga, and cultural nostalgia, he constructed a perfect blind spot, preventing Rimuru from ever suspecting his true motives. Safely hidden behind that friendly exterior, Yuuki rapidly orchestrated a series of proxy conflicts. He engineered the Orc disaster, provoked the Falmouth invasion, and manipulated the Western Church, all specifically designed to test, isolate, and weaken the rising power of Tempest. Rimuru's very existence is a direct threat to Yuuki's ambitions. True systematic control is impossible when an unpredictable singularity enters the equation and starts accidentally conquering the map. The subtle manipulations eventually fail, leading to their direct physical clash in the Amrita dungeon. Here, Yuuki unveils his primary offensive countermeasure against vastly superior magical opponents. Because his anti-skill constitution is a physical trait, it bypasses standard skill suppression entirely. Any spell used against him dissolves upon contact. That suppressed magical energy converts directly into kinetic force, which he weaponizes into a physical strike to completely shatter Rimuru's invincible ultimate barrier. But brute force is only half of his strategy. During the fight, he pretends to be under the mind control of the Rozo family. He fed Rimuru a fake narrative to bait the slime into an emotional, unfocused rage. The moment the Rozo leader, Maribel, exhausted her defenses, Yuuki dropped the act. He effortlessly absorbed her remaining power, killing her and taking her unique skill, Avarice, for himself. Yuuki's true danger lies in his ability to weaponize his enemy's assumptions. His physical immunity to magic keeps him alive, but turning an opponent's own logic and abilities against them is how he actually wins. That winning streak hits a hard wall when Guy Crimson intercepts him. He is an immovable threat, and the power gap is immediately obvious. Guy completely humiliates him in combat. He spares Yuuki's life, but only under the condition that he abandons his Western operations and flees into exile as a spy within the Eastern Empire. This absolute defeat inflicts profound psychological devastation on Yuuki. His meticulous plans were ruined, his pride was crushed, and his worldview was entirely dismantled. The humiliation stripped away the overconfidence that had clouded his judgment. For the first time, he was forced to stop reacting and rebuild his strategy from a place of genuine weakness. To rebuild, he looked toward his original initiator ability. This power allowed Yuuki to bypass the Cardinal world's magical laws by directly manipulating the raw energy of his own soul. Driven by his shattered ego, he pushed that soul manipulation to its limit. He forced his own evolution, upgrading that raw energy into the ultimate skill, Mammon, the Lord of Greed. This flowchart demonstrates Mammon's core function. Beyond stealing skills, it grants Yuuki the power to manipulate an opponent's deepest desires. He can isolate a target's core instinct to survive and forcibly invert it into an overwhelming command to self-destruct. When the Tenma War breaks out, it appears Yuuki's new powers aren't enough. He arrives on the battlefield seemingly under the absolute mind control of the angelic entity, Michael. But it was another trap. Yuuki intentionally sealed his only ego inside Mammon, relinquishing control to become a passive passenger inside his own body. This self-sealing was a deliberate, highly calculated tactic. By letting Michael take the lead, Yuuki safely analyzed the mechanics of the mind control from the inside, gathering the data he needed to orchestrate his own liberation. Yuuki's ultimate strength is the weaponization of his own mind. He took a scenario of total subjugation and successfully converted it into a high-stakes, deep-cover espionage mission. He breaks free just in time to face Jahil, an immortal spiritual lifeform with massive magical output. This overwhelming threat forces Yuuki and Rimuru into an immediate tactical alliance. Yuuki counters Jahil's immense magical reserves by forcing him into close-quarters physical combat. Every strike Yuuki lands is imbued with a continuous lifesteal, draining the immortal spirit's stamina at a rapid pace. Once Jahil weakens, Yuuki applies his Thirst of Death technique. He locks on to Jahil's survival instinct and twists it, forcing the ancient sorcerer into physical exhaustion and self-destruction. Fighting alongside Rimuru forced Yuuki to confront a reality he hadn't considered. He saw that while he had been trying to force a peaceful world through shadow networks, Rimuru had already built one through open alliance. The stability and fairness Yuuki sought for his parents was already alive in the streets of Tempest. Recognizing that his lifelong goal was being fulfilled by an ally, Yuuki set aside his plans for world domination. He officially integrated his networks into Tempest, choosing to support a system that had already proven it could handle the weight of the world. Yuuki's transformation from the ultimate mastermind to a trusted ally proves his core motivation was always genuine. He discovered that enforcing justice doesn't require ruling the world from the shadows, especially when you find an equal capable of building it in the light.